I welcome to the stage director Chris Frierson, co-director Clark Slater, and producer Sean Carter. How you doing?
Fantastic. How
Yeah,
are you?
that was a great film. Thank you so much for that.
Is my hair right? You
What?
fixed it
Your hair?
earlier.
Yeah,
It's
your
good?
hair
All
looks
right,
great.
good.
Yeah, you gotta lock
right,
friends. Yeah, is this the first time you've seen it big?
Yes.
Yeah. How do you
Yes.
feel?
It's awesome. It's awesome to see anything you do on the scale that like you dream of when you're a little kid and shit. So
So,
yeah.
congratulations. So you've been all up in the film department. You've done script, you've done editorial, you've been in all these different departments. This is your directorial debut.
This is, yeah. And yeah.
Start at the top. So can you talk about how like all that other experience informed how you approached your directing of this?
I think like in this business, especially in documentary, it's really awesome to sort of go through the intern to helping edit your first thing to, figuring out what a producer is, just getting all these things. And like, to be honest for myself, like I'm not the best at any of those things, but I know like a bunch about all of them. And it's just helpful because then you understand what somebody else is doing when you're shooting. You understand, if someone's like super pissed off or frustrated, the DP or whatever, but you're like, oh, I get it because I've been there. Or you understand that when you're in an edit room and why things don't happen immediately and stuff. I know what it's like to have somebody sitting on my shoulder watching me, so I never do that with editors, so it's just all this stuff is helpful.
And you really probably needed to call all that experience in to take on a film like this, to be following DMX around for a year.
Yeah, I mean that's where these dudes like how this whole thing started was he went to jail, and one man who was in this room somewhere, Pat Gallo, who was his manager and very good friend, and I communicated the whole time he was in jail, and then we found out when he was getting out, and we managed to scrape up a little money, and we all worked for the same company, so I like ran upstairs, and I was like, to like the bullpen where they worked, and I was like, you guys want to like make this movie real quick, and we just drove down to West Virginia. And we met him when the audience meets him. Like that's the first time I ever met him. Yeah.
So how did you like engender his trust? I mean, he was so just vulnerable in himself with you.
I mean, I can't speak for him, but for me, it was like I said, we went to West Virginia and we drove back to New York, and I think he had known Pat knows Pat for forever, and I think Pat vouched for me. And then on that ride, we just kind of talked. Like I never asked him any questions that I think he's like accustomed to being asked, and we just like kicked it. I don't think I ever asked him a question about like rap music. Actually, that entire year, I didn't ask him a single thing about rap music. So maybe it was just the unconventional nature of like I think he figured out somewhere very early on that we were not trying to assail him or do what I think has been done to him over and over and over and over throughout his life, which is the impetus for the film from the beginning.
Yeah. And thank you for that. It is so refreshing to see a 360 full portrait of a person. And this film is in the portrait section of Doc NYC. It's not in the music section because it is...
No music. We tried so hard, no music.
I hope no one's disappointed about that, but, I think you'll agree it's just so fulfilling to see a man in all his vulnerabilities and his tenderness and his demons and all that. I think you did an excellent job.
Thank
It's
you.
very moving.
Appreciate it.
And you, Mr. Sorry, it's been a long day. You've had a lot of experience. You've done documentaries with Ice-T and Post Malone, so you're used to kind of falling around the raucous bad boys.
Yeah, I think artists tend to move quick, and are very unpredictable. Some aren't, but I think Earl, one of his best qualities is that he was so unpredictable and just unapologetically him. So in that vein, you know, we always just had to be ready to shoot, like at any moment. And I think I guess working with other artists, I came into it thinking, you know, we got to be on our toes, but it was just, he wanted us there. So he made it easy. And actually, big shout out to Pat and Al, who are in the audience, because I don't think we could have been keeping tabs and so close with
Jen and me,
Jen and me, yeah, the whole team.
All his whole crew was like, it was such a family. And the opportunity that we got to spend time with them was great. When they like played with each other, when they hung out with each other, my bad. They were like kids, you know, very like stressed out, tired kids, because that tour was insane. But yeah, all of them were tremendous to being able to track him down and do what we need to do.
Yeah, and I think you know, we wanted to show the unexpected, and I think, like Chris was pretty adamant, no music, which is not what you expect for a documentary about DMX, but I think that was his draw also to Chris and Sean and myself, was that we wanted to show the man and the father, and really just give the audience an intimate, unexpected look at somebody. And I'm really thankful for you guys for putting this in Portrait, because I think it speaks volumes to what we made.
And speaking of family, he has his work family, but his real family was super generous and accessible, you know, and some of them are here. Do you want to shout them out?
Yeah, big shout out Desiree. Where you at, Des?
Wubba.
Wubba man.
Wubba man.
Wubba man.
Is Exodus still here?
AKA Exodus.
Exodus fall asleep.
Exodus asleep here?
Yeah, and Tashira and just his whole family.
Yeah.
Very warm, welcoming people, and we're really thankful for them.
Like that scene at the end, like we watched Ma, which you can see in the background.
Yeah, we watched.
Which was great. It's my third time watching it. And then it was like just crabs. We went to the store with Earl and got some crabs, and like that was just, by the end it was just, we were just hanging out. Yeah.
What an honor that is. And Sean, how did you come to be involved in this project?
It was afternoon in April, I think, in 2018. Chris came and got me from my desk and told me that X was being sentenced, and we walked down to the courthouse on Worth Street and waited outside.
With Sean Rule, who's here.
Sean, where you at?
Sean Wiggy.
Waited outside. He never came out that day. He ended up being sentenced to almost 2 years.
Yeah.
And from there, I just figured it out with these guys.
Like if we were to form like Voltron, like Sean is the heart of the operation. He's like, because we both can be dicks, but Sean is like the greatest person in the world.
Sean kept us in line.
Sean always keeps us in line. It's true.
So it must have been incredibly fun and challenging to be with him for a year. Can you share, you know, we only have an hour and a half of this stuff. What are some of the other stories that you can share with us that were on the cutting room floor?
Subway. Like I've never been to so many Subways in my entire life. Like it was great. It was one of those things that when you meet somebody you admire, you look up to, who's famous, and they do these things that are so regular and normal. Like Maxwell's is a normal place. It's a place that before I went to rehab, used to drink all the time. Like, but like they're just really like behavior. I can't pick a specific thing because it's just like I was like, oh, this dude is just like me. And so, you see all these people, like the guy in Detroit, the dudes in Yonkers, who are like, oh, he's just like us. I come from different backgrounds than both of those people in those scenes, but I felt that, and and the reason I make that joke about the rehab thing is because I've struggled from addiction stuff, and like me and him had like side conversations about that, which have helped me to this very day. So it was just that sort of how he touches people in a way that I didn't expect. And that's why I think that we all like fell in love with everybody, with Earl, with Dez, with Exodus, and Dejir, and the whole family. It's just, and the dudes. It's just like it was a family type situation.
I think something also that might be expected, but he was so musical, and there's a lot of stuff we had to cut out, probably for rights and licensing. But something would come on the radio like unexpected, like a song you would never think he would know, and he would belt out all the words, and you see it in the ending. But that happened all the time.
Patti LaBelle shit, like
Patti-
all
yeah.
that.
So much.
Yeah.
And yeah, like Chris is saying, there's just so much human like to him that, especially with Subway, like things that you're just like, oh.
Remember when he just got pickles?
Yes.
That big thing of pickles?
Yep. He would get cravings for interesting and strange snacks. There's just so many things to love about him. And yeah, I just can't put my finger on everything that there was so much on the cutting room floor. I mean, a year with somebody, you try to string it together the right way, but there's just, we had to pick and choose our battles. So, is there anything that you really remember?
Sure. The last time we saw X was at a rehab facility that he was doing a court order stay at, and we went to show the film to him, which was a really intense experience. I know that the three of us couldn't eat on the way over. We were all so nervous for him to see this thing that we've been working on, kind of on our own.
Fully on our own.
But watching with him was a great experience. We watched it in a room with his therapist from the rehab facility, and it was incredible to watch him digest the footage of his own year and talk to his therapist at the same time about what he was watching. At the end of that visit, Clark smuggled a sandwich into the rehab facility because X is a big fan of turkey sandwiches, and they didn't serve that in the mess hall. So
Did not. Pepper. So black you can't see the turkey.
a lot of pepper, only on the vegetables.
For those in the back, you want to know if there were multiple sit-down interviews with DMX? If they had another chance.
No. And the secret about that is we never wanted to. So, like, outside of us being genuinely concerned about where he was, we knew that this wasn't that kind of film. It was just circumstances where, that was kind of a safety type situation. But he doesn't really lend himself to that environment and that sort of thing. I think that his actions, speaking or not, they speak for themselves. I don't, it's not a reason to really put him in a chair and do that sort of thing. It worked. I mean, it worked out. We were freaking out. Like I think everybody was, but
yeah, there were moments that we got interviews with him. You'll see one in front of Maxwell's. You'll see in a hotel room. There's another one where he's like in a robe at GQ. There was moments where you kind of had to trick him into an interview. He really didn't like to sit down too long and be interviewed,
Right.
But then he would kind of open up and give us those moments. And like Chris is saying, his energy just the whole time Chris was trying to make a verite film, and we were very worried that he didn't show up, but we were kind of like on the inside, like, hey, we tried to get that interview, and it didn't, pan out. But his energy, that's just how it was. It wasn't calling for that. So we just tried to get moments with him, and I don't think there's anyone else who really talks in the film besides Desiree and
Pat.
Pat, obviously, but there's no real sit downs.
Spank, yeah.
Yeah.
I appreciate the crying thing. It's fantastic to cry. I cried yesterday. Today Saturday? Friday, yeah, I cried.
Well, Chris Frierson, Clark Slater, and Sean Gordon-Loebl, get your names right this time. Thank you all for a really beautiful film. That's all the time we have for tonight.
But before
Audience award, please go online if you want to vote.
real quick before we go, Sean and I would like to present something to you, Chris, that we've been holding on to for about a year.
Oh, word.
And I think now's the time
See
to
that
do
crying thing?
All right.
Christmas.
It's exactly like Hanukkah or Christmas. Oh, shit. This is... So remember that story about driving to West Virginia? They got the receipt. They got the turnpike receipt. This is fucking awesome. Thank you.
Sean held on to that forever.
It's good to get receipts when you're filming stuff for people like that. I have a problem with it, but this is why.
Wait, give it to Bernard after this.
I'll give it to Bernard after the screening.
Thank you, guys. That was
I
really
really appreciate it. Thank you, guys.
Thank you for coming.